Welcome to another edition of the Get Made podcast. This is going to be a great episode today. I got on a very special guest that I've been trying to get on this show for, heck, since the show started last year, right? And so she's finally graced me with her appearance, graced us with her appearance, and some information she has for us in reference to men's health. And without further ado, without further ado, I'd like to introduce to everyone a good friend and a good person to me, Dr. Vanialorvanis. Dr. V, how you doing? Assalamu alaikum.
Alhamdulillah. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am well, alhamdulillah. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
No,
It's
thank you for agreeing to be here. You know, I've been wanting to get
alhamdulillah.
you on for a while, ever since I had this show, in conception. You as a guest that
Yeah.
I always wanted to have on the show to kind of talk about some things that you've been kind of instrumental in helping me out over the years, and maybe you can share some of that with my audience as well. Something about health and pertaining to men's health. So, of course, we're going to jump into this segment. It's going to be probably a two-part segment, everyone. So I want everybody to stick around, and we got some great news for you after this first segment and after the second segment as well. So, Dr. V, if you don't mind, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is Dr. Vanialorvanis. I'm a board certified family nurse practitioner with a doctorate's degree. I specialize in internal medicine and infectious disease. I've also completed my studies and certified in functional medicine, hijama or cupping therapy. And I also have my own practice. Well, it's my own business, Be Better Wellness, where I treat patients or people who have functional diseases that need treatment by finding the underlying causes, whether that be gut health or other chronic illnesses. I work with them personally to help them overcome and reverse some of those conditions.
Yeah, like I say, she's been instrumental in helping me with some of my problems. Everybody know I've been dealing with diabetes for a pretty long time now, and along with some more, I guess, pharmaceutical medicine, she's been helping me out with some of the more natural uh, uh, pathology, I guess that's what you would call it. And so, Dr. V, we got something that we do here at the Get Made podcast. We have three questions, and from the third question, we dive over into the interview itself. So, I'd like to ask three questions again. And if you're ready, let's get started.
Let's do it.
All right, that's what's up. So, first question: any books that you have read over the, let's say, 6 months to a year that has given you some inspiration?
Honestly, I haven't read any books lately outside of my studies. Medicine is ever changing, and so it's my responsibility and my duty to keep up. So, extracurricular books, I haven't had an opportunity. I did purchase a book that I'm getting ready to start. It's called The Eighth Habit,
Mm-hmm.
because I do like to work on myself. So self care books, self help books are something that I like to go to, but nothing in particular, not in the last year, honestly.
The name of the author of this book that you're referring to?
Stephen Covey.
Yeah, Stephen Covey. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's about like highly effective people and their habits. So it's like from effectiveness to greatness, just how to you do have and how to improve on them and be more effective in
Mhm.
dealing with people. Yeah.
I'll tell you something that's kind of crazy. I've been working with a couple of my clients on this through the same book, trying to get them to kind of have relationship goals, if you will, and
Hmm.
trying to how to, moving from all these stages, in order to get to a better and a more holistic relationship, right? And of course, trying to connect them back to Quran and Sunnah with that, right? And so,
Hmm.
It's been an interesting few sessions that we started. Probably started about a month ago, so we're about halfway through those principles and habits, right? So, second question: any male, black male specifically, that's been inspirational for you in your lifetime?
My dad. My dad has been very inspirational to me all my life. He's been a very busy businessman all of my childhood, but he's always made time to go to our school functions, games, graduations, what have you,
Mm-hmm.
and has taught me a lot. He's always been a very motivating and encouraging source in my life. So he'd be the one if I had to choose someone. I'd say it's my dad. He's,
Okay.
mashallah, he'll be 92 next week, inshallah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a long life. It's a
Yeah.
long life. And
Yeah.
I've seen. So, has he experienced great grandkids yet? I just
Oh yeah. He has great grands and great grands.
okay. So it's like one, two, three, four generations of him out
Four
here right now.
generations. Yeah. Yeah, they
Wow.
were just up here recently to see him. They
Mhm.
couldn't stay. People have their lives, work, and
Right.
school to do. But it's nice that he's still around and they can still
Right.
experience him.
Hmm. 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 So, last question, and we're going to jump into the interview with this question here. From a health perspective, what is your observation or your, let's say, clinical expertise of the health of black men? And probably the subgroup would probably be black Muslim men, but we can probably just throw them into the same group of black men.
Yeah, they would probably fit into the same group of black men, only because that's a specialized or a subcategory that I'm not sure has been studied.
Hmm.
But I can definitely speak to the health of black men
Hmm.
uh, in this community, in this region, because I do spend my workday trying to treat them and educate them.
Hmm.
So what I find is with black men, many of them are apprehensive about going to the doctors for their regular screenings and checkups. It's usually once there's already a fire that I see them in the office, or they're coming with a
Hmm.
significant other who's kind of like, encouraging them or kind of forcing them to get in there and get themselves checked out for
Hmm.
complaints that they have at home. That they just kind of don't really pay attention to, ignore, or just think will go away on its own.
Hmm.
So I think that is a concern and something that we need to be aware of and raise awareness, especially for our unmarried population, because those are the ones who I see are more chronically ill than those who are married.
You say the unmarried population.
Correct.
Hmm. Why is that? Why is that an issue? Why do you see that as an issue, or what does the study say that that's an issue?
Well, the studies say that's an issue because they're single, so they're on the go, and they're for whatever's quick and easy, and
Hmm.
so there's not a lot of concern or thought that goes into what's going into their bodies. It's just I'm hungry, I got to eat, so whatever I can grab, and that's good enough. Um, the married population, those men have a benefit of getting those home cooked meals that may be a little more healthier, and
Hmm.
not always the case, but definitely better than going to a fast food restaurant or to the corner
Hmm.
store for those processed foods. So that's what the studies show, that men don't, because of their poor state of health.
Hmm. Hmm. So, in that, when we start looking at the population or the illnesses that's affecting this population, what are maybe the top
It's
five?
like the connection. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
I
It's like
can.
we lost it.
Okay.
Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So,
I
what
can
are
hear you
some of
now. Go
the
ahead.
top five? What are the top five illnesses that plague this community of men?
Oh wow. Heart disease. So
Okay.
let's see. We're going to do heart disease, which is actually the end result of chronic illnesses such as hypertension, diabetes, chronic kidney disease, um, drug use, drug and alcohol use. Those are the
Mm-hmm.
kinds of things that that I see in the patients that I treat in the Essex County region, that
Mm-hmm.
plague the community. And there is depending on where you are in Essex County, there is a lack of awareness
Mm-hmm.
and concern. And I say both because those who are aware, they try to do their best, but other factors that hinder them in trying to improve their health may be socioeconomic factors. They can't
Mm-hmm.
afford the healthier meals or, what have you. And the lack of concern comes from those people who are aware, who are unaware, and oblivious. Those are the ones that come in when it's a three alarm fire.
Fire. Mm-hmm.
They've got something going on that needs immediate treatment because they're feeling the symptoms so badly that, like, treat me, and then you treat them and they're in the wind. You don't see them anymore.
Right. Right. Wow. So in that, and you said Essex, this is Essex County.
Yes, Essex County. That would
Okay.
be like your East Orange, Newark, Irvington, South
Okay.
Orange, West Orange kind of population.
Okay. These are heavy urban populations.
Yes,
Are
heavily
these heavy urban
populated
populations?
urban
Okay.
areas. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yes, they are. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, they're heavily populated urban areas, primarily your Latino and African Americans.
Mm. Okay. Okay. And so when we started talking about heart health, right? Because it seemed like
Hmm.
this is a major thing that really affects a lot of us, right? And that heart health then goes to affecting other areas of the body as well, as we know from the Islamic point of view, that it's a morsel of flesh than the body. If it's healthy, then the rest of the limbs are healthy, and if it's corrupt, then the rest of the limbs are corrupt. And surely it's the heart,
Hmm.
right? So if we was to take that
Correct.
from a medical standpoint, what are some of the things that heart health affects, especially within Black
Oh,
men?
so much,
Hmm.
so much, so much. So your heart health is important, and there's so many things that it's very complex, the body, the human body.
Hmm.
If you're not resting well, that affects your heart. If you're not eating well, if you're stressed, so many things affect the heart. So when you have an unchecked hypertension, it starts to affect your eyes. You could start to get blurry vision, or even lose your vision. It affects the small fibers in your body. It affects your kidneys, which then, since we're on the subject of talking about men, going further down the body, your kidneys, it also affects the male anatomy, because
Hmm.
of the small fibers, the vessels in those that male anatomical body part,
Hmm.
and then further destroying those body parts, or your added chronic illnesses like diabetes.
Hmm.
So hypertension, definitely affects the heart. So I see that a lot in this community, that there is hypertension that has been unchecked for so long that several medications are needed. Not just one, maybe two or three medications are needed. And then that's when
Hmm.
you get into trouble with the men as well, because there are certain anti-hypertension medications that do affect the male anatomy as well.
Okay, so then it seemed like a lot of things start affecting these small blood vessels and small fibers and different things that lead out throughout the body, kidney, the feet, the
Yeah.
hands, and even the
Yes.
private areas of men. Okay, and
Correct.
so how often, and we probably say this a little bit later, talk about this a little bit deeper later. But how often do you see, or how young do you see men coming in with these issues?
Oh, it's been getting younger and younger in my career as a nurse practitioner.
Mhm.
I'm seeing it as young as 38 now, where the men are complaining about erectile dysfunction
Mhm.
and sexual lack of sexual performance. And I mean, when they're young like this and they don't have the chronic comorbidities like hypertension, diabetes, there could be other factors such as stress and diet.
Mhm.
The things that affect the testosterone levels. When the testosterone levels are low, which is a very important sex hormone in men, then you will see how it affects the male anatomy and develop erectile dysfunction. So we do test for testosterone. We do lots of screenings to check, every part of the body. And in men in particular, we check that as well.
Mhm. And from your just your expertise in dealing with this segment of P population, what has been the reasoning why they've been afraid to go in to see a primary care, or go to a specialist or anything? What were some of the things that you've heard, before it came to, five, three alarm, five alarm fire? What are some of the things that you may have heard?
I hear things like because I don't want any bad news. I don't want to hear anything, or because y'all are going to put me on medication. You know, or we hear things about how they watch their family member, their grandmother, their aunt, their mom have to take a bunch of medications and they died anyway. So I definitely understand where they're coming from in that regard, but that's also a lack of education, a lack of understanding. Because if they, what I try to get across is that if you take care of your health,
Mm-hmm.
while you're healthy, then you have a less likelihood of having those issues
Mm-hmm.
as go into your older age. So it's just better to go to the doctor and not wait until you're sick. They should be coming into the office twice a year if they have no diseases, no illnesses. If there is a chronic illness, then we should be seeing you every 3 months just to make sure that we're checking on those things that we're giving you medications for. But the primary reason is, oh, I saw this in my lifetime growing up, and I don't want that to be me. I don't want the bad news, or you're going to put me on medications. So
Mm-hmm.
those are just a few.
Well, I mean, and okay, as a man, I understand that, right? I don't believe until I really, start getting, having illnesses myself, that I didn't start going to the doctor as often as I go, right? And I'm seeing a
Hmm.
doctor. I mean, some type of doctor, like seeming like every 2 months, something they should. I know for my diabetic clinic,
Hmm.
and for my eyes, I'm seeing them every 3 months to every 6 months, right? So I can get A1Cs, and I'm seeing a urologist maybe every 3 months, so I can get
Correct.
PSAs and different testosterone checks and
Correct.
things that nature there, right? So,
Right.
and then of course going to a neurologist, so make sure my nerves and my extremities are well, and but
Hmm.
all this happened because I got sick.
Correct. Correct. So again, Ibn Abbas reported that the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu said to take advantage of five before five: your
Hmm.
youth before your old age, your health before your illness, your riches before your poverty, and your free time before your work,
Hmm.
and your life before your death. So again, your youth before your old age. I tell them all the time, come in. You have sons, you have brothers, nephews, whatever. Tell them to get in. We start checking for the PSA, the prostate specific antigen levels at 30, because we want to know if there's something going on. If you have elevated levels that we need to look into and send you to a urologist so that we can correct it before it becomes a problem.
Hmm.
Those screenings happen ahead of time so that we can get ahead of things. And then oftentimes too, you want to have a practitioner that you're partnered with. And I say partnership because you're both working together for the betterment of your health. So, as a patient, seeing a doctor, spending your money, co-pays and insurance, and
Hmm.
even if you're coming out of pocket, you want to be aware of yourself. You want to be self-aware before you go in there, and
Hmm.
knowing what you need to ask for, and just in case a practitioner doesn't test for it.
Hmm.
We are all aware. Do we have time? Are we or do we care? Some practitioners just don't care. They just want to spin you in there and get you out.
Right.
So, I empower my patients by letting them know that these are what you should be looking for. This is what you should be
Mhm.
asking for. So,
Mhm.
before the end of the podcast, I'd like to share with your audience what they should be asking for when they go to their primary care provider so that they can get the proper screenings and be aware of what's going on silently inside of their bodies because these are silent killers.
Well,
And
I
all of
think
them are very much.
yeah, I think we need to have that conversation now. I ain't gonna wait because I've been up forgot because you've been gave me the 30 different thoughts by the time I get to that, right? And so let's let's go ahead and try to dive into that now because it's I'm understanding and I'm gonna make a statement. Then you can get to answering that question. I'm gonna make a statement. We
Mhm.
talking about people not going in and getting checked out, right? But I really do believe it's lack of education.
It's definitely a
That
lack of education. Definitely a lack of education. Young people have the syndrome where they think they're invincible and they'll live forever.
hmm
And that is not the case. But we have forums like this. We have speakers, male speakers, and imams who can also, try to encourage in their lectures from the examples of the Sahaba and the Prophet, why they need to be going in and taking care of themselves, why it's
hmm
important.
hmm So let's get into that. You saying you get some things you can kind of tell us and give us an examples and some things that we can do when going to a doctor and things we can ask for.
Sure, sure. Okay, so if you're in your once you start getting in your 30s, we start looking at your body mass index, your how much you're weighing, versus your lifestyle, and we start looking for your A1C. That's to check for diabetes. We check your GFR to see your kidney functions because those are important. We check for your thyroid functions, which there's a thyroid hormone in almost every cell of your body, so that's important to know what your thyroid functions looking like. um, you know you want to get a calcium channel score if you're in your 40s and higher because you want to see if you're at risk for a heart attack or a stroke. And blood work wise, there are inflammatory markers that we do check for, like your lipoprotein A and your high sensitivity CRP, to see if there's further, incidence or likelihood of a stroke or heart attack in conjunction with your cholesterols. We look at those together. So your lipoprotein A is high in its incidence of having those are related to genetics. 70 to 90% are related to genetics. So it's important that everyone check for those. And why? Because you just don't know. But knowing puts you ahead of the game. Of course,
hmm
qadr Allah, we believe in the qadr of Allah, but also we are also instructed by our beloved Prophet Sallallahu to check, to see about our health, to make sure that we're on top of our health, to stay healthy, to eat healthy, to exercise. My mother died very young of a heart attack. A
hmm
sudden heart attack was sudden and massive. And the cause of death is atherosclerosis, which they call it natural death. But atherosclerosis is directly related to your cholesterols, your lipid panel. So when you're going to get your blood work done, you should be getting a lipid panel, and those cholesterols, you have about six of them that we look at. Your main ones are your total cholesterol, your triglycerides, and your LDLs, which we call the bad cholesterols, because those LDLs are the ones that form the atherosclerosis, or the harder plaques that's deposit in your arteries and more difficult to remove, stiffens the arteries, and then, over time, that's where you get your heart attacks that happen, or even a stroke.
Wow. Oh, you're gonna stroke, right? I know my mother. We're talking about me, and I know my mother kind of. She passed from the same thing, and she was young. She's
Yeah,
like 58, right? And so
yeah.
at one point, she's had like 35% usage of her heart function, right?
Wow.
So
It's part
literally, she had no function. She literally had no function in her heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, as after she passed, and then I was given all this information, I was able to do the research and then find out even more about it. And I'm like, oh my God, man, she was literally just walking around just on borrowed time, period.
Yeah.
Just,
And you know what? Um, her practitioner could have tested for that. There are tests for that. It's
yeah.
called your echocardiogram. The
Yeah. Well,
echocardiogram.
she got all that. She just didn't tell me, right? She had all that done
Okay, okay,
after I find
yeah,
out, you know what I mean? Afterward, what all she
yeah,
was told. She had the angioplasty done, and so
okay,
she
yeah.
had like 4 heart attacks while I was gone, right?
Mhm.
And
Wow,
so,
wow.
part of her things was I just want to live till my son come home type of deal, right? And
Mm-hmm,
so,
mm-hmm.
but nevertheless, I look at that, and at some point, her health had got beyond where she was even willing to manage it.
Yeah, yeah, and
So,
see again, I tell my patients, we look good on the outside, but what's going on the inside? We have tests for those too. We can test what's going on in the arteries in your neck, in the arteries around your heart, and the arteries in your
mm,
legs. We can check what's going on for the pressure. We have a lot of patients. I have a patient, she's only 52 years old. She's a double amputee because of peripheral vascular disease. That's a lack of perfusion. The blood is not circulating in those lower limbs.
no,
And you got to test for that, and that's not even directly related to a diabetes. It could be other factors going on that you should be looking into to find out what's
mhm,
going on, and totally preventable. If caught soon enough, they're treatable. And there's just no excuse not to know, because we live in an age now where you can find out. You just got to talk to the right
mhm,
practitioner, ask for the right tests, and do that. For example, my dad is 91 years old. He recently suffered a stroke. It's not his first one, but he always walks out of these strokes unscathed, no deficiencies. My dad is 91 years old and he still exercises to this day. He will get up early in the morning. He has his weights. He's marching in his room. He's watching his YouTube videos. And he goes for a 3 mile
mhm.
walk every day.
Okay.
Every day. And, I have to plead with him, even in the snow and ice, don't go outside. I don't want you to
Mhm,
fall. And he's just like, it's going to be what it's going to be.
mhm.
And I could take a page from his book, because I'm not going outside in the snow and ice to do anything.
So
But I brought
ain't that much motivation in the world, right?
No, not that much motivation in the world. But I brought that up because the last stroke that he had, I asked him to do a carotid scan for him. And they did one and discovered that he had 70% blockage in his left carotid artery. And so that's
Mm,
where your strokes are coming from. That's one way your strokes are coming from, is that you're not getting enough blood passage in the arteries in your neck. We have a test for that. There are tests for that. They can also, I had him go do an echocardiogram with a CT angiogram, where they
mhm.
check to see if you have any blockages near your heart. He also has severe aortic stenosis, but he's 91. So no one's going to go in and fix that or operate. But the point is, you can find out as early as 30 years old. If you have a BMI, if your weight is over 35, over 30, they will check these for you, because that your weight also correlates to what's going on inside in terms of your cholesterols. And so
Okay.
you do those checks to find out if you have any atherosclerosis in your legs. And then you take the treatment for that, you get it cleared out, and you're good to go. Don't wait
Mm.
until your old age to start checking to find out, or it's an incidental finding from your practitioner. Oh, by the way, I see that you have this that's getting ready to become a problem. We need to treat it now. Start looking for it early. Treat it early so that you can go into your older age comfortable, pain-free, and healthy.
Wow. It's amazing because I think a lot of times men, we don't, well, I don't want to speak for all men, right? But many men don't really start thinking something's wrong until that male member ain't working really correctly, right? And
This is accurate.
it's like, oh, wait a minute, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
got some problems, and then a
Uh-huh.
lot of times they just think it's the little blue pill or one of those
Yeah. They
Cialises,
want to run to the gas station,
you know what I
get the
mean?
little
They get
pill,
right out of the corner store dope, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? And so, it's one of those situations where they think they can actually self-medicate it.
It blows my mind, Brother Hassan. I have a new patient. He is 70. No, he's 65,
Okay.
66.
Okay.
To me, still full of life. 66 is young.
Mm-hmm.
And he came in with his bag of medications, and he's like, I need a new doctor. And he was fussing and carrying on because his current doctor will no longer give him the pill that he's looking for, the blue pill.
The blue
So
pill.
I worked him up. Yeah, I worked him up, got his blood test results back.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible. His A1C was 11 in some
Oh
change.
God. Mm-hmm.
His CKD was 35. That's chronic kidney disease,
Disease.
stage what?
Mm-hmm.
It's
That's like
really bad.
stage. That's over stage 3. That's like stay almost
Yeah, it's
stage
over
4.
stage three. It's bad,
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing
Right.
he wanted to know is at the end of the visit is if I going to write him the prescription for the blue pill. It's like, sir, you're about to lose your kidneys, your eyesight.
Right.
Your feet are burning, they're on fire because of your neuropathy, and all you can think about is the blue pill for your little friend. I mean, come on.
Oh boy.
You got
Oh
your
boy.
priorities messed up.
And if you start looking at the other things and start working on the other things, more unlikely that can kind of get back in
Of
somewhat
course.
alignment anyway.
Of
Right.
course, by not letting your A1C get that high in the first place,
Mm-hmm.
and getting your hypertension under control, you won't have any problems with that.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's just it blows my mind.
So I'm gonna ask this question, then we're gonna sign off on this episode and then come back for the next, right? And because I think it's interesting that we're talking about a person or a man who normally won't go to the doctor, only going to the doctor to really get the blue pill, right? And he has like a gang of other things that's really taking place, and probably more than likely have high blood pressure issues going on with that,
Hmm.
right? And how bad is the high blood pressure effect on the body?
It has a really bad effect on the body. It affects all body systems, honestly. When someone's blood pressure is really high, they come in, they usually have a blurred vision, they're feeling dizzy, pain and tension in the back of the neck, the muscles all over the body are tense, it's primarily in the shoulders. The heart is working triple time trying to get the blood pumped up because there's so much pressure in there. So
Mm-hmm.
it's damaging. It's damaging to the heart. It's damaging to the kidneys. It's damaging to the vessels of the brain. The vessels all over the body really is very damaging. So it's important to keep your blood pressure in check if you're able to,
Mm-hmm.
um, as much as possible. And you do that by getting sufficient sleep, trying to control as much as you're able your stress, eating the right foods, not consuming high sodium diet, all those preservatives and lunch meats and things like that. Those high sodium foods that can.
All those quick grab foods, basically.
Correct. Correct.
Mm, mm.
Mhm.
And I say this for myself. I think the highest my blood pressure has been was like 160 over 105. Right.
Ooh,
Yeah.
wow. No, that
Right.
105 on the bottom, that's a problem. That is a
Right.
problem. So you
Right.
want to make sure you keep that number as low as possible because that's a
Right.
problem. Yeah.
Right. And of course, I had a lot of other stressors going on. Right. And
Mhm.
so I know I speak to the fact of when you're saying that a person has a lot of stress related things going on, especially within I don't know no black man in America who don't have stress, right?
Correct.
uh I think we just
Mhm.
naturally born into the world with stress, right?
Mhm.
Now, I mean, that's not to give an excuse. That's just to kind of, the race is, it's hard for all of
I
us.
mean, the research proves it. The research proves that, but there's a
Mhm.
whole other conversation on a psychological level. But there is research to
Right.
prove what you're
That's
saying.
another, right. That's another conversation, right? For from the mental health perspective, right? But
Mhm.
I'm saying how it affect the medical aspect of men.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, for myself, I know that it was. I mean, it was to the point I was dizzy. I already
Yeah.
can't see, and it's like my eye was blurred. It's like I already can't see, and my eyesight is getting even blurrier, right? And so it was just a lot going on, right? And so
Mhm.
I think now it's like I work that thing down. It is some, I do take medications for some of it, right? But It's like 106 over
Mhm.
63. You know what I mean? And this is kind of where I've been able to work
Mhm.
it back to, right?
That's much
Yeah.
better. That's
And
much
so,
better. That's all dietary,
right. And it's
lifestyle,
I mean, like you say, the
exercise.
eating of not eating as many, having better portion control and not eating so
Right.
much, crazy foods. And I'm not going to sit there and say that, I probably have the best eating habits still, right? I think a lot of times I'm still a product of my environment, right? But I know I've gotten it
Mhm.
better, right? And it's
Mhm.
improving. I can say it's probably improving weekly. But
Right.
we're going to talk more about this in a part two of our conversation because I think I want to dive into what some men can actually do for help and what their spouses can actually encourage them to do as well, right? This might be a support system that might be realized and activated better than it probably has been. So we'll have a conversation about that on our in part two, if you don't mind.
Oh no, I
All
don't
right,
mind.
that's what's up. So, yo,
Um,
guys, thank y'all for tuning in this week on this podcast. Before we go, I'm in this segment here. Also, I want to allow them to see how they can catch up with you. What are some of the ways that they can contact you?
They can contact me. Let's see, you can go to my email address, which is Dr. Vanialorvanis at gmail.com. And that spelling is Vania. That's the first name. Lorvanis is the last name at gmail.com. So Dr. Vanialorvanis at gmail. And then you can contact me at 201-308-3048. Also, if you have any questions or concerns.
All right, all right. And so, you guys, I got a very special announcement on the next segment. So I want you to come back. Y'all check it out. If y'all want to know what it is, you gotta come back. All right, we're gonna see you on the next segment. All right,
All
that's
right.
again every Monday at 7 p.m. on Facebook at Hassan Clay at Facebook, and on YouTube at the Get Made Podcast on YouTube. Please subscribe, hit that subscribe button, and get your notifications sent to when we this thing going live every week. So check us out. All right, we'll see you in the next episode. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.